Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This will be brief. As a science teacher, physics and chemistry, and as a lover of science fiction, I've had the opportunity to just observe the film known as Elysium. Many of you probably have seen it now. It's one of supposedly the summer blockbusters, and according to the critics, it is a masterpiece and created by the creator of District 9. I must, however, defer from that judgment. And as far as I'm concerned, this is a total unwilling suspension of disbelief. I'm going to defer from the critics here and take a completely different position. Spent 2 hours watching this film, and let me enumerate some of the things that are grossly wrong with this particular film. Number one, whoever heard of a shuttlecraft taking off from the Earth, like the space shuttle, to go into orbit at approximately 18,000 miles an hour, with apparently no G-forces being experienced by the individuals who are on this particular ship. You'll notice that these were normal civilians who were going up. If you've seen the film, or will see it, they experienced no G-forces whatsoever, nor were they trained to experience this. They probably would have died on the way up. However, they crashed onto Elysium, onto the space station. In this incredible crash, what is most fascinating about it is that the animators forgot one thing. If the craft is destroyed, it would burn up. The people would have been hurt. There was no sign of fire. There were no explosions. It left a path of destruction over a mile long, and the people didn't have a single scratch on them when they landed on the space station. Again, unwilling suspension of disbelief. They land on the space station somehow, which has no ports for docking. Inconceivable in a space vacuum. They land on a space station which is apparently open to the non-existent zero atmosphere of outer space. Nobody comments on this. How do you maintain an atmosphere without it completely and totally dissipating into outer space? And yet the people are breathing air naturally with apparently no covering to this semicircle of a hub. Again, unwilling suspension of disbelief. What else bothers me about this film? Oh yes, besides the absence of the space station's cover, besides the absence of flame and injury during a crash scene, there is a complete absence of character development. You feel nothing for these individuals. And Jodie Foster, come on, get a life. You're one of the greatest actors out there. You've won an Academy Award, and yet you've totally overacted your part. And anybody who knows anything about theater and enjoys theater can sense that. I was a little bit disturbed by it, even turned away at certain points when you exerted your authority a bit too much in your role as Prime Minister of Elysium. Matt Damon, forget about it. This was nothing more than a cartoon in which you killed, maimed, murdered. It was destruction, but there is no character development. Essentially, we're looking at a video game, and I think most of the people who would see that got the same pleasure out of it as you would out of a video game. To continue with my critique of this particular film, at the end of the film, the happy ending, I don't mean to give it away, but everybody becomes a citizen of Elysium. All the people who have been down on Earth for weeks, months, years in fact, seriously ill with no medical services whatsoever, now are going to reap the benefits of the hospital ships from Elysium. So the shuttlecraft come down to Earth. They open up their bomb bays. The people come are lined up outside the shuttlecraft. Thousands and thousands of people with serious, desperately wounded individuals. These are people with horrendous injuries. What do? They don't mob the hospital ship and its few beds. What they do is stand there politely and just simply await treatment from the drone medical emergency technicians that are aboard this space shuttle. Completely inconceivable. That would not happen in real life. You can imagine what would really happen if these people had received no medical services and the ships had landed. So considering all the things that I'm saying, and there's so much more, it is not a masterpiece, anything but. I'm totally disappointed by the physical dealings of the animators with this particular film, as if there was no awareness of the need to incorporate science as there is in Star Trek, as there was in Star Wars. There's no awareness of Newton's laws whatsoever. To make a long story short, this is not District 9. It doesn't approach District 9. If you saw District 9, it is a brilliant masterpiece, and that's what got me to see this. In District 9, there was an empathy for the characters, particularly for the aliens themselves. You felt something for them. You cried over their suffering. No one cried here. There was no need to cry. There was nothing happening except, again, a video game. Again, as far as I'm concerned, I paid my money, took my chances, and as far as I'm concerned, I was duped. And again, you should be ashamed of this film, the people who created it. It is not District 9 and never will be. And certainly do not compare it to Avatar, which I was trying to do. I went in originally to compare it to Avatar. There is no comparison whatsoever. Avatar still remains the gold standard of what great science fiction is all about. If you've seen it, you know what I mean. There you feel compassion and empathy for the characters. Here you feel, again, at the risk of sounding repetitive, absolutely nothing. So in toto, comparing myself and not willing to in any way appear as a professional critic, I'm nothing but a layperson and a science teacher. I must give this a total grade of no more than a D. And as far as I'm concerned, that's just D for effort. Bad picture, another one of those summer blockbusters in which people were duped into coming and saying it is not Avatar, and it certainly is not District 9. With that being said, this recording ends. I would appreciate any comments from anybody who's seen it to comment on some of the things that I've said about the crash scene, about the taking off and going into orbit, about the absence of an atmosphere, about the failure of character development, about how the people handled the situation on the ground when they were being treated for their wounds and their suffering and their pain. There's so many other things I could go into that left me completely disappointed in the movie. I would like to hear from you. Over and out. This is the EARTHPROBE signing off, hoping to hear from many of you people who enjoy science fiction as much as I do, and possibly I was wrong, I'm missing something, I should look deeper than that. Or those of you who feel, as I did, that this was a total waste of time. And any true observer of science fiction, true lover of science fiction, would have been appalled by this movie. Take care and stay well.